Hello class, we're now coming to to week 6, and we're going to discuss now the inerrancy of Scripture and the inspiration of Scripture. And that is a topic that has been much debated over the last 200 years specifically. Ever since the rise of deism, back in the 1600s, that was a very small number of people that would have believed have deistic tendencies. But ever since the 17 and 1800s, for sure, and ever since the publication of The Origin of Species in 1859 and the developments in German theology in the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, what you have now is a constant resistance to the idea of the Bible as an exclusive source of truth and being given by God. So we live in a global community today. We are well aware that there are other religions and that they claim that their book, maybe the Vedas for the Hindus, maybe the Quran for the Muslims, that they claim that their book is in fact the one that is inspired by God. So we are confronted with this question, given that the testimony of the prophets and the prophecies and the fulfillment of it through Christ, it is all testified to by the Scriptures. And if the Scripture itself is called into question, then to what extent can we rely on what's being said there? So this is a very pivotal question. It became one of what's called the five fundamentals of the faith. That was the fundamentalist movement at the beginning of the 20th century. They were trying to identify the essential doctrinal beliefs that a Christian must have in mind in order for them to be considered Christians. And that development of the fundamentalism, which was a fight against liberal theology and the Enlightenment, came after the Reformation in the 1500s and 1600s, gave a special place to the Scriptures as the inerrant source of truth. So when the Church was confronted with the moral abuses of the Roman Catholic Church and then the theological misconceptions of it, then the Protestant Reformation tried to found a source of a cornerstone of truth by which they can assess how one is to worship, by what means is one to be saved, and how to have a reliable historical account of prehistoric times, like what occurred from Genesis 1 to Genesis 11. That seems to be something that is shrouded in mystery, but the Scripture makes it very clear. So you had a special place given to the Scripture during the Protestant Reformation, and you can look this doctrine up, and I added some resources for you guys to consult. The resources that I got are primarily from those who are well recognized theologians, both in this and the last century, and who have most meaningfully spoken in this issue. So read Hodges and B.B. account of it. And then I put some R.C. Sproul and John Piper and others, and John MacArthur, sorry, and that can help you beginning to make sense of this issue, which in many cases either we don't pay attention to, or we become so overwhelmed because of the plurality of claims to divinity, to inspiration in Scriptures, that we don't know where to go. So your assignment in this week is going to, of course, be comprised of 2 questions and discussions that are going to take place, and remember to reply to one another. And it is going to be writing a defense paper making the case for the Bible. Now, this is about 2 to 3 pages long. Make sure you use the sources that have been given to you for developing responses to these arguments. So there may be what's called subjective proofs, things that may have persuaded you about the inspiration of Scripture. But those are not sufficient. We want to get into the scholarly sources and what has been the historical evidence for Scripture. So a subjective experience of you reading the Bible and then feeling connected with God, that may be a very persuasive account for yourself, but we want to look at the historical reliability as well as what have the scholars and theologians agreed upon after having discussed this subject so much. So you have 2 to 3 pages. Don't include the references, not including them. So that's a short reflection for you to think about it. And then Look at the writings that were provided for you by Moreland and write a 1 to 300 word reflection on the credibility of the New Testament documents. So what you're going to find when you begin to do this research is that the New Testament, it is a very historically reliable account of what occurred. And there are going to be many reasons, and I put several sources for you to look up and engage with. So those are going to be the assignments for this week. I will be emailing you later this week to invite you to a Zoom meeting. I'd like to touch base and make sure that you guys are doing well in the course, and any guidance that may be needed, questions that you may require, or just simply procedural matters. In any case, I'd like to touch base with you and get to know you better and understand how to best help you. So I leave you now to this topic, and please do not take it lightly, given that it is a cornerstone in the it is a foundation for the truth of the Christian religion, and unless we know how to defend it, then that will be called into question, and in this case we will be left in either skepticism, or will become just simply dogmatic in our beliefs, making claims without sufficient proof, and we want to avoid either one. Dogmatism is claims without proof, and skepticism, of course, is the belief that proof cannot be given. So keep that in mind. I will be contacting you later this week then, and I hope you have a good time. Most likely it will be Tuesday by about 8 p.m. that I will schedule a Zoom meeting. Okay, God bless you, and I look forward to hearing from you. Bye.